Hey everybody, it's Brian. Before I did this Seahawks stuff full time, I worked as a manager and senior leader, so I know how lonely it can be to try to find someone you trust to talk through people issues, org issues, process issues as you try to lead an organization. Ryan Cleveland of RyanCleveland.com is someone I trust to have those conversations with. He specializes in working with CEOs and business owners, and you can get a complimentary free discovery session to see if it's a good fit for you.
Hello,
Just go to
everybody. Welcome to a
RyanCleveland.com to sign up and
triumphant
start now.
Seahawks postgame show, a real Hawk Seahawks postgame show. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Hawk Blogger. Fuck yeah. Like, let's go. 2 wins in a row, a home win. It's possible. Like, dude, you're getting my voice is a little bit gone, guys. I'll bring you in here right away. For the first time all year, this game felt like a game where the home crowd had a role to play, where there was a team worth screaming for. There was a team worth trying to pick up off the ground. There was a team that was going to fight every single play on defense, and you could feel it. It almost felt like there's a little bit of the conquering heroes coming home after the 49er win. Like, okay, you guys did that for us. Now let's do a little something for you. And it felt like a collaboration again. It felt like a team of fan and players for the first time really all year. And I don't know, man, this felt like one of the first meaningful home wins. Say whatever you want about the state of the NFC West. It was a meaningful home win. It felt like the first time in a long time. Plenty of warts to talk about as well, but let's bring in the guys. Nathan Ernst, man, it feels like it's been forever since we've had a chance to talk to you. How are you doing, Nathan? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. The last time I was on the show was right after the Rams game, I think, and I was talking about it. I don't remember if I was saying that it hurts because like they're still in the division, or I made some comment about them being like they're still in the division, and I got some eye rolls. And here we are, 3 weeks later, bye week and all. And for the minute, they're first in the NFC West, and I think that I got a good feeling that it seems like they'll probably keep that. So yeah, this is pretty cool.
Jeff, at Real Jeff Simmons, I saw you started flexing a little bit on Blue Sky this week. Like you've made your entry finally over there. I mean, this game, man, this team, it is. I put the GIF out there. It's like maybe no, like every week, man. How did you feel about this game?
Man, they don't make it easy. They don't make it easy, but
they don't.
Like when Geno threw that interception, like I was ready to rip someone's head off. I was so mad that we had to sweat that game out. But like, man, we talked last week about Mike McDonald, like not defensive, like masterpiece. He took this to a totally another level this week. And listen, I watched a lot of content. I wrote Nathan this morning. Like I had no feel for this game. I heard NFL Live on Friday talking about how Arizona had this dominant run game that couldn't be stopped. They go into heavy personnel, and Mina even tweeted this morning, like, the one thing she's watching is whether Seattle not only did this run game get stopped, they got like leg dropped by like Hulk Hogan in his prime. Like, have you seen James Conner's stat line?
Yeah,
7 carries for 8 yards.
0 successful run. I think they had 1 successful run in the whole game is what I think Mina tweeted out.
That's insane. And like NFL Live did this segment just like the run game can't be stopped. And all the experts, except for one of them, I think it's Marcus Spears, but like, yeah, Arizona's going to win because of that run game. I would have never guessed in any state that the run defense we've watched 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago could become this. And it's just, if you weren't excited about Mike McDonald, and I know there was a lot of people who weren't, I was very nervous about how things were going. The last 3 games and the last 2 especially have just been his stamp and like, I'm here, bitches. So let's go.
I mean, I'm looking it up right now as you were talking. The last time James Conner was held under 10 yards rushing was 2020. Like, and it's only happened in his career. This will be his 9th time that it's happened. The thing that's crazy here, I think Jeff just lost power in Toronto.
No, I'm back.
No, sorry, you went black. We got a lot of power concerns out here in Seattle. Is the juxtaposition, guys, the contrast between one of the worst run defenses you will see. Jeff, you like weeks ago, you're like, I watch all the NFL games. Nobody else is having this much trouble stopping the run against everybody. Daniel Jones and the Giants came in here and just ran all over this team. And they just, the Cardinals are a legitimately good run team. This was easily their lowest rushing yards output in a game this year. Easily. And the thing I'd throw out there as well, Nathan, is I thought this was one of the best pass rushing games I have seen in a long time for the Seahawks. Not because their numbers are going to be super crazy. Do you know how hard it is to rush a quarterback like Kyler Murray in a coordinated fashion where you are putting pressure on him, but you are not creating big lanes for him to run? I watched it all game. It was this coordination of like pushing in the pocket and collapsing it. And he still was not able to get out and make big plays. Like, that was a friggin' legit effort by the front seven, but especially the front four.
They were extremely disciplined in consistently collapsing the pocket from the back, and the guys in the front, you know, not over pursuing, not getting out of their lanes. And yeah, like, you know, there's always talk about quarterback height. I think it's a little overplayed in a lot of cases, but we saw this with Russ too. If you force him up in the pocket and there's like guys there in front of him, his efficiency, his ability to do anything plummets. And Kyler is even worse. And this offense just at no point, like, or that offense at no point were they scary. They did nothing running the ball. They never really threatened the ball down the field. Did he have more than 2 passes that went like 10 yards downfield? There was one on a scramble where he's able to bust out left and get it downfield to Marvin Harrison Jr. And then there was a big one to Wilson. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like, it was consistently at the line of scrimmage. And yeah, I mean, they were able to pick up some yards on that, but it really felt like Seattle was giving them that. And then when they wanted to clamp down on it, like, there was no question. And so, yeah, that like combination of how disciplined the front four were and how well they came up and covered things up. Like, you look at that Trey McBride stat line and think that he had a monster game. And like, he played well, but like it did not feel like, oh, he's taking over the game. It felt like they're giving him this.
That's exactly right. It felt like they were like funneling. They're like, this is what we're going to give you. And Jeff, if you had told me before this game that they were going to hold Kyler Murray and James Conner to a combined 17 yards rushing, I would have said, fuck off, dude. Stop screwing with me. Like, there's no way. And that's what they did. 17 yards rushing between those two guys is wild. Like, you got to talk a little bit about Leonard Williams, man. I mean, I don't know if I talk about Leonard Williams in this game. What a game.
Man, you can just see it from like the first couple series. He just looked, I think he had like 4 pressures in the first like 3 drives. And he just looked like he was on a different level. And like we've talked about like the blue chip kind of performances, and they just haven't been there. That's what it looks like. Leonard Williams was a dude today. He was a game wrecker. And we've talked about getting the game record, getting the game record. How many times have I said to you about playoff games? Leonard was the best player on the field all day long. Devin Witherspoon had some game-wrecking moments, but Leonard Williams today, with the amount of pressures, the amount of disruption, that was the best game I've seen him play in a number of years. Maybe the best game he's played in his career.
Was that at least an echo of the Jadeveon Clowney game down in San Francisco?
That's what it felt like.
Right? Like he was just crushing. Like he was embarrassing people, like grown men. And that's a good Cardinals offensive line. That is like by almost any metric has been one of the best offensive lines in the game this year. And he was beating them inside, and then he'd take turns beating them outside. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
If you had to guess, where Seattle ranks, and I'm looking at the RBSDM numbers here. I believe it should include today's game. If you had to guess where Seattle ranks in success rate allowed by rushing offense by runs. So
all for the whole season.
No, since the Rams game, including the Rams.
Since the Rams game.
Yeah, so Rams, Niners, Cardinals.
Well, I know they were 6th coming into this game over the last 2 games.
Someone did their homework.
It's gotten better. They are now 2nd. Minnesota is insane. They're at 24.5%.
Inject that. Like
Seattle is next at 29.4. They've been better than Baltimore, Detroit, Baltimore, Tennessee's 5th. So yeah, legit.
Is this what we hired Mike McDonald for?
Yeah,
I think we hired him to adapt a little faster. Like I would like him to not get his teeth kicked in for 6 weeks, but we're back, baby.
I will say, Baltimore, 8 games. First 8 games were not good. Everyone said it was Roquan Smith trade. Sure, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. 8 games.
Ernest Jones trade?
From game 9 on, they've been a different team. And Ernest Jones, you heard Mike McDonald press conference today said, our second level's playing great. Our middle's playing great. It was like a few weeks ago, it was like our second level's a problem. It's a huge turnaround.
And they almost had another touchdown. Like that Tyrese Knight touchdown that was like an inch with the tuck rule where I was kind of drunk and I was saying that it was definitely a fumble, probably wrong. But they almost had 2 defensive touchdowns today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jeff, what did you think about the style of defense? Like what stood out to you about the way they played defense today?
It was the first time really that they looked like Baltimore from last year, where the way Nathan described it perfectly, the way they were rushing the quarterback, the way they couldn't tell where guys were coming from, the way that just their guys would physically take over the game, and they just looked bigger and faster than you. Like I was very happy with how they played last week. It just seemed really sound. But today, just the fierceness of those first few drives. I think the first 3 drives they had no points on and they couldn't move the ball at all. It just looked like an entirely different defense to me. And that front looked so good. And that was led by Leonard Williams. We saw Boye had a really good play early. You saw just guys contributing. It was really cool. And like Brian, I'm sure you're going to have fun rewatching. I don't know if you can see this all from your seats, but I'm glad you shouted out Leonard. Like I didn't know if you could see like the devastating impact he was having.
It was really, really impressive watching him play. Nathan, Kobe Bryant, like we have these guys on other teams where it's like they're not necessarily that great, but somehow they always seem to cause a turnover or be around. Like Jordan Babineau, perfect example. Like not the best safety that's ever played for the Seahawks, but somehow he's either creating or benefiting from a turnover all the time. I feel like Kobe Bryant, rookie season, tied for the NFL lead in forced fumbles, didn't play all last year, but every time he seems to get around the ball. What do you see from him?
Honestly, I have not been taking him seriously. And I am not.
I love the honesty, dude.
I have not even been watching him. When I go and do my film rewatches and everything, and like, I mean, for a long time, there were a lot of other things to worry about on this defense. But it's time to take him seriously. Like you're right. He's always around the ball, need new defense, playing safety, which is not new to him, but like he's what, 3rd, 4th year now. Like it's not crazy that he's kind of coming into his own. So I got to mea culpa a little bit. Kobe Bryant, I wasn't familiar with your game. I got to go back. I got to watch a little closer.
I think we were all in that bucket. I mean, maybe not as recently as you, but I wouldn't have said like, oh, Kobe Bryant's going to be this good of a safety. And it was interesting to see Rayshon Jenkins was back. It was Kobe Bryant and Julian Love who were the base down safeties. And then Jenkins was in there a lot when they were running a lot of big nickel in this game. But Bryant was not coming off the field. I mean, there's a couple times he did, but for the most part, he was not coming off the field. If he ends up being a plus safety, like that draft, man, in 2022 is looking nuts. Let's get to some of these super chats. We got so much to cover. Video Game Sports says, served them up some McDonald's today, and I'm loving it. However, it's really concerning when your defense is that good and their offense still puts up more yards than yours. We'll talk about the offense for sure. They put up more yards only on that last drive. I mean, it was garbage time, but sure. Thank you for the super chat. Avery Aguirre says, Seattle won in the trenches. Love to see it for sure.
On one side. One trench.
On one trench. Yeah, I'm not going to go.
Water Napple says, Brian's take on Kyler gets better each time we play him. Where the hell are you, Josh Cashman?
He was in here saying that he was excited for this, and I was confused because Kyler looked like butt today. He's not. I could not imagine. Like, I know he can be electric. I know he can be a lot of fun. I could not root for, like, if he was on my team, I would go insane.
Why? I don't know if tell me why. Why?
I mean, and I generally hate to do the body language thing, but the body language is just not always a lot of fun. And he just feels very solvable. Not that he's easy to solve, but you can solve him. And when you do, you get the little body language stuff, and it just doesn't. He's just one of those guys where, like, today, like, at no point did I think he was going to make a play. You know, I mean, coming into the game, I was scared. Like, the offense has been good and, like, all that stuff. But, like, once you get a few drives in and you see what they're doing and it's working, and you're just like, oh, he's got nothing. Like, when it's working, it's awesome. And when it's not, we'll see you next. Like, he's not going to gut anything out. He's not going to find a way. It's like he's got one speed, and if it's not working, the body language gets a little funky.
Take that, Josh Cashman. Take it right in the face. I mean, the Cardinals came into this game 5th in the NFL in yards per play, 9th in EPA per play. They were 2nd in yards per rush, 5th in rushing yards overall. I think I heard a stat that they had not been held out of the end zone in a goal-to-go situation all year long.
Yes.
And the Seahawks did that today.
Yep.
This was high level stuff on defense. I don't know if people really know how good the Cardinals. They won 4 in a row. They were playing with a lot of confidence coming off their bye week. Had been able to game plan this as much as they could possibly want to, and their offense was just completely shut down.
And that's not, like, their offense being good was not a fluky thing. Like, they've exceeded expectations as a team this year, but they were, darlings of, like, the film community. And, everyone was excited about what this offense could be. And then for most of the year, it's kind of fulfilled that. And the team's exceeded expectations as a whole a little bit. But this is not an offense that's just like, they were holding it together with, like, rubber bands and duct tape. Like, this is an offense that people had expectations for, and they looked completely toothless.
Trey
We got one
McBride
more
seems
super
like
chat, Jeff, and then I'll get to you. So Lomer Boy says, y'all want that second rounder back, or are we still good with keeping Big Cat?
Can we have both?
No, unfortunately, we couldn't.
We could have signed him at free agency.
Maybe. Yeah, sorry, Jeff, what were you going to say?
Trey McBride seems like a bit of a bitch.
Tell me.
At the end of the game, he is, like, whining nonstop at the refs when he, like, clearly stays in bounds and, like, his knee hits the ground. And then, like, there's a play over the middle where he's whining that the refs didn't call holding when he clearly dropped the ball. And then the next play, he goes and he blocks Julian Love, like, right from behind, like the most obvious block in the back on a useless play. He throws his hands up like, I don't know what happened.
I'm with him on that block in the back call.
It was a legit block in the back.
It was a legit. He threw. It's a bad rule.
Did you see the replay?
It did not. It looked like he. No, I mean it looked like he did this. But, like, it also looked like he pushed him about as hard as this. Like,
that's why I was so funny.
You're, like, I get why they threw the flag. I'm not, like, I wouldn't be mad at the refs on that. But, like, if I'm Trey McBride, and yeah, that would piss me off.
No, he's a good player. Like, I'm mostly joking, but, like, I was very amused when he was acting like a little baby at the end.
This is a vibes-based post-game show. It always is. We've a lot of like goodness, and we'll come back to the goodness. But what the hell are you doing, Geno Smith? What the hell are you doing? And we'll talk about Ryan Grubb. We got to talk about the offensive line, the tight ends, pass protection. There's a lot of things that are just like, what the hell? But you guys know I'm a Geno guy. I will continue to be a Geno guy, but there has got to be an adjustment that when you are in certain situations, your risk profile, that your decision of like when to take a chance has to throttle down. It just has to. Like, he cannot make that decision ever. I'm not saying like, oh, it can only happen every once in a while. That can never, ever be in his mind that that's the right choice to make in that moment. It is 100%. Even if he had thrown a touchdown there, it was the wrong decision in that moment to do it. And he's hurting his freaking team. Last week against the 49ers, when you're backed up in your own side of the field, that's not the time to be trying to make some crazy play. Punts are okay. Like, man, that was so aggravating. He's got to clean that up, and he can't talk about needing to clean it up anymore. He just needs to do it.
I think we can hold two ideas in our head at the same time and believe both of them and have both of them be true. Geno is playing awesome. Geno is really raising the floor and the ceiling of this offense, and at times is, just being a hero for this offense. And Geno has to stop throwing stupid interceptions. 12 interceptions in 11 games is, in my opinion, too many interceptions.
That's a wild take.
Too many. And look, if the one that went off of, was it Walker, whoever's hands, that was not and would not have in any way been his fault. And I get it. The offensive line.
Was off target.
No. That's just bad luck, and the offensive line sucks. And no one got open on that play, and Geno got flushed out. And so he's scrambling and trying to make something happen. And I get it. Those are all considerations on that play. But he has done this now. It's almost to the point where it's every week. And if you're doing it every week, you have to change something about the way you're playing. And it sucks. He shouldn't. It sucks that the offensive line is bad. It sucks that he gets forced into these situations. Stop throwing interceptions, though. Don't do that. Knock it off. He's
got an interception in 4 straight games, and he's got 6 interceptions in the last 4 games.
Yeah. And a lot of people are very defensive of Geno, and I get it. I can also be defensive of Geno because there's undue criticism of him. But at some point, like you're saying, you have to adjust your risk assessment, your risk, whatever
profile,
tolerance,
yeah. And you just have to cut some of that stuff out. It has to stop. It can't be every game.
Yeah, Jeff. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Ask me what you're gonna ask me.
I was gonna say, guys literally go years without throwing a red zone interception. That's how much you have to play differently in the red zone. He's got 3 in the last 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It cannot happen, dude.
Yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm getting sick of it. It's just, the thing with Geno is the stuff he does really well, he also does so frustrating at the same time. He makes that play in that drive basically that gave him the field goal at the end, where he does basically the same play where he runs across one way and throws across his body, and he hits it that time. And it's did he learn something? But I don't know if the word is the risk tolerance, but when you're in the red zone and you're in scoring zone, your mentality just has to change. And one of the best things you heard Tom Brady talk about, you heard Peyton Manning talk about, is knowing when to throw the ball away, knowing when to eat something, knowing when to take a sack. He is running. He's running there. Either he can run and take a couple yards and maybe get the first down, or he gets tackled, you get a field goal, and you win the game. And we're not sitting here sweating it out for 9 football minutes in a game that they should have won. They should have been up 16-3, and the game should have been over. And he basically lost the Rams game with those interceptions, and some of them were bad luck. But this had the potential. If they don't get that pick 6, they could have lost 100%. This game. They could have lost this game. And they had the other play where they're about to go in scoring range and Geno gets strip sacked. I don't put that one on Geno so much. I put that one on some other things, offensive line, but that play just can't happen, and it's happening too much, and we can't make excuses. This is just who he is at this point, and they need to make an adjustment. He needs to make an adjustment. I can't listen to him say, I'm going to do this better next time. I'm going to learn from it. Dude, you've been playing for 3 years as the quarterback now. Like, these just can't happen, and it just leaves me like, I don't know what to do with this guy because he comes down the next drive and drives him right down for a field goal and does hit so many big third downs with the protection breaking down. So he's learning from it, but he's putting this team in too many holes. And like, there was no need for that game to be as close as it was. And that interception right there cannot happen.
Cannot happen.
Lockett was not open.
Here's the thing. I think Geno is still playing like it is the first, like the first half of the season or the first 8 games, where if he's not making plays and they're not putting points on the board, they're going to lose. This is a different team. This is with the way that this defense is playing. He needs to be just good enough. They can win some games 13-6. They can win some games 10-7 potentially. Like, that's not a crazy thing at this stage with the way this defense is playing. So I just feel like he's still got in his mind that he's got to carry this team. Can't be that. But the other thing, Nathan, this offense, like the pass protection, the play calling, whatever it is, I spent that entire game just being like, I don't want to see them I don't want to see them on the offense. When they have the ball, I am more concerned that they're going to turn the ball over or have some terrible play happen than I am. Like, I want them to just punt. Like that's like the level of lack of confidence I've got in the offense, especially in this game. It felt like a huge step backwards in a lot of ways. And I give the Cardinals defense credit. I thought they were excellent today. I think they called a great game. I think they played a really good game, but it was ugly. This is one of the worst pass rushing teams in the NFL, and they just completely overwhelmed the pass protection in the first half.
Yeah, and anything good that comes from the offense does feel like somebody, usually Geno, playing hero ball, right? It's Kenneth Walker breaking like 6 tackles in the backfield to finally bounce something outside and hit it, or JSN, doing something crazy with the ball in his hands, or Geno and DK finding some way to make some magic. So yeah, like it feels completely off script. And like, I get that, like, yeah, Geno has to press. And I think that Geno mostly played an awesome game, right? But yeah, nothing feels good or easy about this offense. And it's not, they don't, I mean, when nothing's working, it's hard to have an identity, but it's not really clear what their idea is for how to attack a defense. Like with Waldron, it was very like schizophrenic almost. Like they would go through these phases where, they were clearly trying to do something, and you never knew when it would stop and switch to something else. And it was not always very clean, but like they clearly had intent. With the Grubb offense, it's really hard to understand even what they're trying to do. And I don't know, like, if the offensive line has broken Grubb at this point, or what, but they don't, it's just, there's nothing cohesive about how this offense plays.
I'm going to tell you something that you guys are going to both like, everyone's going to shout me down. I'm just going to say it anyway. There was actually progress in the run game today. Like, what that means is that it's been so bad that there were a few plays where it like looked competent. It looked like, oh, they have some idea. There was some variation in what they were doing. 80-90% of it was trash. Like it was totally trash. But there was 10 to 15% where I was like, oh, there was a hole. There was a play where Kenneth Walker almost housed it. It was a nicely designed, nicely blocked run. Nice to see. The check that Geno made on
was it third down or fourth, whatever it was, where he handed to Charbonnet, got the first down. Christian Haynes had a nice seal block inside to key that. There's a couple of these moments where I was like, okay, like there's something. But it felt like in the first half, getting back to the line of scrimmage was a victory. That's how bad it was. And if I'm looking at this right, they had 5 sacks in the first half, right? The Cardinals, and they had none in the second half. They only had 6 quarterback hits according to the box score on the day. Didn't feel like that.
Yeah, it felt like Geno was running for his life. Anytime they had to do a pure drop back, like a third down or the new, like how many times was there a pocket today? Either Arizona was giving up Arizona was getting instant pressure, or Geno was on the run, and they just couldn't hold up in basic levels of pass protection. Basically, Brian, I felt the same way as you. Every time I saw them in the first half get to third down, I would sink. And maybe it's because of that horrible jersey combination they had today. I hate that. It looked so ugly on TV in the weather on that like crappy Fox broadcast. And like every time third down came, I just sunk before it started. And Nathan's so right. Like, I have no idea what they're trying to do. Sometimes they'll start throwing screens. Sometimes, and I think obviously the offensive line makes it really hard to have any identity, but they don't. It's scattered. When they get in rhythm, they look pretty good at times. There was that drive that JSN scored, but every time Zach Charbonnet touches the ball on a promising drive, it seems to die. And yeah, he had some good plays at the end of the game to seal it. He did. I will acknowledge that as someone who's not been very high on him. But there's a play at the goal line where it's blocked perfectly. He has a giant seal, and he cuts back right into the defender and then gets stopped on second down. And it's just like the amount of talent they have in the skill positions, and to be this scattered, this troubling. I listen, there are plays you can run when your offensive line isn't working. And I talked about the QB rollout, throw to the flat. Like some of the stuff Kyler was doing to McBride to get into easy passing situations. They ran that one play. Geno rolls to the left. They throw it to Metcalf. They threw it to someone in the flat. Who was it? Was it Barner or Pharaoh Brown?
Pharaoh Brown.
That stuff can work. Like you can run some things like that. There's no play action ever in this offense.
Yeah.
Like I find it, obviously with offensive line issues, maybe you're scared to play action, turn your back to the line, but play action a lot of the time can slow down a good pass rush. And I don't know what they're trying to do. And right now I'm just left. I feel like it's pretty clear the defense has kind of turned the corner. I feel like these last 6 or 7 games, like Grubb, you got to do something, or I don't know if you're going to be back, man. And like, yes, JSN looked good again today. Like DK didn't have a great game. Like he was kind of quiet. He didn't come down with that 1 over 2 guys. It just doesn't feel right. I think Nathan just said it so succinctly. Like I don't know what they're good at. And every time they come to the ball, I have no idea what to expect. And it's hard to watch. I hate watching them.
And it shouldn't be like that either. Like
no,
the running backs, Walker is good. The tight ends are solid. You've got receiving talent. Geno is a good quarterback. Like, yeah, the offensive line is a nightmare, but I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like they should be that far away. And so then the fact that they are that far away is almost extra concerning. And I hate the idea of canning Grubb after 1 year. Like, you hired a guy who had never coached in the NFL before. Why would you do that if you weren't willing to grow with him for more than a year? But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. It feels like it should be better than it is, even with the offensive line struggles.
Yes.
I don't know. I'll have to watch again. My initial vibe was I think Olu had a step back today. I don't think he had nearly the game he had against the 49ers. Not sure if that's going to be the truth. I'm curious how Christian Haynes will look. There's a few plays I saw for sure where he got walked back and the strength thing showed up there. I don't know if Abe Lucas had as good of a game.
No, he got pushed back in several pass rush snaps.
Yeah. So like there was Laken Tomlinson had some rough moments early. I don't know if it got as bad late, but there was just like, dude, those are rough film for him. So if that's true, 4 different guys again, and you just can't function like that. And Geno said in the post-game press conference, they were getting pressure with 4 guys. Like it wasn't a lot of blitzes.
A lot.
And he said they're dropping, they're playing zone, they're dropping 8. I don't think they're dropping 8, but they're dropping 7, and they're not able to solve that. And I think Grubb and Geno, they need to get familiar with the 3 or 4 yard play. It is okay to have a play where you're hoping that maybe you get 7, 8 yards and it ends up with 3 or 4.
I felt like they feasted on that though earlier in the year. Like that was the one thing that was really working for them earlier in the year, is that they were able to hit a bunch of these little curls and just different things, kind of middle of the field or right over the numbers or the hashes. And like so they've done this in the past, and now I don't know if defenses are just totally adjusted to that, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I thought that 3rd and 2 play where they end up getting strip sacked the first drive of the third quarter, where it's like they need 2 yards and they should have some like play action to the flat, roll out the guy, give him a run pass option, things like that. And they run this like long developing play where Geno keeps dropping back, and I never got to see the alternate, the other side of like what he was. It looked like Geno was throwing deep, and it's just like you're 2 yards out of field goal range. You need 2 yards to get the first down. And Nathan's right, like the New England game, the Detroit game, like that's the stuff they were feasting on. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm left. Like I'm frustrated because I don't know what they're trying to do right now. And it's not running like the vertical stuff from Washington because they don't have the line to do it. And so I'm left very irritated because a game that kind of defensive performance had to be a sweat against a defense that frankly isn't that good is very irritating.
I think the defense was pretty damn good.
No, but they were good today. But I think overall,
I think they were really good. I think they've been really good for a few weeks now. But I everything else you said, I agree with. And I guess my thought there, guys, is it seems clear to me they ran the ball 25 times today. It seems very clear that they are trying to figure out the run game. And in the first 8 weeks, they didn't have the defense to allow them to even have any wiggle room. I think they're trying to figure things out, and now the defense is going to have to hold court while the offense hopefully figures something out in the last 6 games. But we'll see. It's ugly. It is ugly, and it's not looking good for almost anybody on offense right now. We got a few more super chats here. Droidian says, "Is it too late in Geno's career for him to learn to not throw completely inexcusable interceptions?" I think we kind of talked about that. I don't think it is. I actually think that he's shown that a couple years ago, but we'll see. I have some questions to ask him and Ryan Grubb this week if I get a chance. Jose Rodriguez, friend of the show, says, "That's how we play defense. From now on, defense, that's how we play." Love that, dude. Cameron Cronkite, yes, says, "Defense absolutely carried the offense today. Amazing defense performance. Haven't felt that good about the defense in years." I think we'd all agree with that. Rylan has gifted 10 Hawk Blogger memberships. Thank you so much for your generosity, Rylan. Hopefully, if you get one of these free memberships, consider paying it forward, giving one as well. I'd like to keep it paid forward in this community. Droidian back again says, "It should also be noted that K9 also sometimes plays hero ball," agree, "and doesn't take smaller gains, always looking for the home run play." Look at Nathan didn't like that.
Way overblown, but yeah.
Okay, you can say your piece.
No, I think it's overblown. People have been saying about about K9 for a while. Like, yeah, I want a running back who tries to hit it 20 yards and isn't just trying to play 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, that's why the running game sucks. So and a lot of times, like, what people think he's passing up is not really even there to begin with. So,
all right, we've got another one from Sovereign Magic here. Says, "We talk about the picks and dumb plays, but Geno gets sacked on third down way too often. We had 3 drives in a row where that happened." Yeah, I don't know how much we can acknowledge it. Like, the offensive line was unplayable in the first half.
Yeah, I definitely would defend Geno on these. Like, I feel like his pocket presence is typically very good, and the sacks he takes, I'm not looking at that being like you have to feel that, or you have to get rid of the ball, like, and like there's that play to DK at the end of the game to keep that drive going, and there's just a lot of cases where he's making stuff happen and avoiding. There was a play like on the first play of the drive. He had an awesome play where he got like flushed out and then like went to run because he felt a running lane, but then it wasn't really there, and he had kept his eyes up, and so he was able to hit like JSN or something like 15 yards downfield. I think Geno, the sacks, I don't typically feel are on Geno very much.
I'm with Nathan on this one. There were so many plays, especially in the first half, where they get to third down, and within 2 seconds, the offensive line would be completely crumpled, and they'd just be at Geno's legs. Like, what's he supposed to do there? Like, I'm quick to jump on Geno if he's getting sacked too much or holding onto the ball or making bad decisions. There were so many of those first half plays, and I know it's frustrating to watch because you're ready for him to drop back, and when he drops back, it just feels like he's immediately getting crumpled. There's no pocket. Like, watch other teams with a good line. There's a pocket. And it's not like he's running into sacks like Russ or anything like that. Like, I'll be the first to jump on Geno for things, but I'm not going to do that one.
I'll throw out there as well. There were some plays where he had a lot of time back there, and there was a good pocket, and the receivers were not getting open. Like, I had a view. That's one of the things you get being at the stadium. Like, there's a play, I think it was the third quarter, they were kind of driving, and he had the ball forever, and he eventually threw it out of bounds, which he friggin' never does at this point. And his like throwaway rate has to be the lowest in the league. He never throws it away. But there was no, like, he had 10 seconds back there, and nobody got uncovered. Even if it's a bad play call, the fact that the receivers are not finding ways to create space is not acceptable. But, you know, that's another piece out there. We got one from Set the Tone. KY says, I mean, LJ Collier got a sack. That is unacceptable. I literally was like, oh my God, was that LJ? Oh,
That was bad.
God. Ugly. All right. Eric Michelet says, I love that we won once again, not sniffing 100 yards rushing as a team. That is concerning. Leonard Williams is him. So we've talked about the bad for a little while. Let's return to the good. Who is the player? Give me a couple players that you give game balls to. Let's start with you, Nathan. Who are the guys? Maybe give me an offensive guy and a defensive guy, or you can go 2 on defense if you prefer.
I think it has to be Leonard Williams on defense, I think. There's another one. I won't steal the other one. Offense is interesting, though. I'm going to go with JSN. Third straight game where I don't know that I would say he took over this game, but he was certainly the biggest weapon, I think. Made some big plays for them. I would say Leonard and JSN.
Jeff, how about you?
Hard to argue with those two. I think if you're not going Leonard on defense, I thought Spoon was awesome today. Ben Solak put out a great kind of tweet of how that pick six happens. And Kyler has so much space, and Spoon comes shot out like a cannon and scared Murray that he like kind of panicked into that throw. And what Spoon's been doing out of the nickel the last few weeks, we've talked about like Brian Branch all year, and Spoon looks as good as any player on defense I've seen in the league the last 3 games. And so he's not getting sacks and he hasn't got a pick, but he is making so many plays in run defense and coverage. He's been awesome. It's almost gone under the radar. And so, like, we've been talking about Mike McDonald unleashing him, and everyone's like, oh, he's not doing much. I think today he was really good. Offensively, JSN, I don't know who's number 2 guy. Kenneth Walker, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he probably had 15 broken tackles today.
That's like he
most
made
broken
plays
tackles per yard of any player in the NFL.
But I don't know who would be second.
No,
Geno?
it's hard to say. I mean, yeah, Geno, but I mean, God, it's hard. It's hard.
I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him. I don't care.
Yeah,
Jason Myers.
I think that's fair,
but he missed the extra points.
I will tell you, I 100% said on the field goal, like the ice the game. I turned to my friend and I was like, I feel it's more likely that this is gonna get blocked in return for a touchdown than that he's gonna make it. It was raining.
I left the room. I couldn't watch.
It was going the direction. It's the same direction that the Giants missed all those field goals back in 2005. That direction towards the Hawks' Nest is where field goals generally go to die. They don't travel that far. It's 49 yards, 50 yards, I think it ended up being. I had no confidence. So I do think, I mean, Jason Myers absolutely gets a game ball for last week against San Francisco. huge 250+ yard field goals that were key to winning that game. And then he iced this game. Like, if he doesn't make that kick, I'm not 100% sure we're talking about a win. Like, Cardinals get the ball down 7 around midfield. Like, I think we probably win, but it would have been a much more typical, like, God dang it, we just had to like hold on for dear life. So that was nice to see. Last couple things here, guys. I think the thing for me that just really stands out is we got the coach we thought we were going to get. We're in the moment of this game, this season, these players, all that. Great. But let's take a step back for a second and remember that this team was reeling, especially defensively. Looked like one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And now they've made their personnel changes. Those personnel changes all look like they're working. And this looks like, again, one of the best defenses in the NFL. This looks, is it, do you think it's overkill to say top 10 defense the way they're playing the last 3 weeks?
The last 3 weeks?
Yeah.
They're the number one defense. Who's played better than them the last 3? Denver, maybe?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
What they did to, when you consider the quality of opponent, I think
that's kind of my take. I tend to be a little bit hyperbolic about these things.
But the 3 weeks before, they were the number 32 defense. So
yeah, exactly. But that, to me, that is so encouraging that, one, he has demonstrated his ability to put out the defense that he's supposed to. 2, that he and John Schneider have worked together to get the personnel that fit what he's trying to do, and that they're willing to do it in season. And 3, that the guys stayed with him. Like, everyone's been kind of asking about, like, there was a couple weeks ago, the vibes in the locker room are off. That's got to be like what I'm like, I don't see it. And they responded like, God dang, man, everything that could go wrong had been going wrong. They were losing games in the worst possible way, and they're having to answer the most annoying questions from people like me every week. And here they come. They come out of it. In addition to that, after the Thursday night game, when he had a little extra time to game plan, great result against Atlanta. After the bye week, after they've self-scouted, we've seen like just significant improvements. I think all of that's big picture really reassuring about, like, this guy, I think, is going to get us hopefully to being back to being a relevant team that we can be proud to cheer for every friggin' week. Yeah. So I don't know about you guys. I'm looking forward to the rest of this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm curious, Nathan, where are you on what you think is going to happen the rest of the way? Like, where are you, like, all right, this is a legitimate division contender. Do you think that this is going to be a team that just kind of fades back? Where are you on this team right now?
I was playing the schedule game again a little bit, and I was definitely more optimistic. I mean, I think they probably win the next 2 games. That puts them at, 8-5? Yeah, it's going to come down to those last 2 weeks. I'm not too scared of those. So I think that they can like, they feel like a 10-win team right now, right? They're playing like a 10-win team. You look at the schedule, they can get the Jets, Cardinals, Bears, and Rams. That puts them at 10 wins. And so that's pretty good. I mean, I think if I have to be honest, like, I think I am less excited about McDonald than I was at the start of the year, even with what we've seen the last 3 weeks. And there's a lot of challenges ahead of him still, like, how he navigates the situation on offense right now, and like future coaching hires, and can he avoid going into another skid like this? Like, people talk about those first 8 games with Baltimore, but they don't talk as much about the last 5 games last year with Baltimore and the skid that they hit there. So there's still some questions for him, I think. But right now, I mean, I think, yeah, you're looking at probably a 10-win team. You're looking at a playoff team. I mean, you're looking at a quarterback for as much as we talked about the warts with Geno right now, like, that dude in the last 2 minutes of a half or a game looks like the best quarterback that's ever played the game. So, like, yeah, this is a team that, you know, if they keep it rolling, they should be able to win a playoff game. Will they? Like, will they be a favorite? I don't know, but they should be a team that can win a playoff game, and that's really exciting. And so, I was about that Niners game had me on the ropes a little bit, but I think you know, the last 2 weeks have been awesome, and it should be a really successful year now.
Jeff, I kind of think about the Steelers team, which has an elite defense, pretty regular to expect the opposing team to struggle to score 20 points a game when they face the Steelers. And their offense is like a bit of a thrill ride at times, right? But they're a winning team. Like, they win a lot more than they lose. So it feels like this formula can work even if the offense is struggling. Where are you on, like, what's your confidence level that this defense is going to be able to continue to sustain what you're seeing the rest of the year, and how much do you think that's going to help them translate to playing well?
Pretty high confidence. Nathan is right. They have been streaky, but what I like that I'm seeing is that the guys that are winning for them are not fluky. It's their best players. It's Leonard Williams. It's Spoon. Sure, Josh Jobe is playing really well. Mm-hmm. But what I saw this week, what I saw last week, is their front four line up and just beat you. And it's the way they've kind of attacked. And Ernst Jones, like, he's a dude. Like, Brian, we really liked him with the Rams. And that player has transferred over. And so many of their issues were at the linebacker level. And they have tightened that up. Like, I don't know enough about how Tyrese Knight's fang. Someone like Nathan would need to explain that more to me. That's not my strength. But I think I believe in the talent they have. Again, the issue with me was never like they're not a talented team. But schematically, they just seem so broken with their alignments and broken with and it seemed like most of that has gone away. So I think the fact that they played run defense this well gives me confidence that it's sustainable. When the run defense was like the Atlanta game, where like there was that game and they held them to 13, but Bijan was running all over them. I had the same take as Nathan, where it feels like things are about to collapse, and Nathan was dead right. And so I do have confidence in the defense. I believe in the talent they have. Man, what makes the thing with Pittsburgh is they've always been like a physical run team, which has kind of completed the toughness of the team. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's like, Schneider, you got to get this thing right, man. Like, if you can make this with Geno and the weapons they have, and if you can make this like a tough run offense and put that all together, this is going to be a damn hard team to beat. But I have no confidence they get that done the rest of the year. So I think every game is going to be tough. But yeah, I looked at the schedule. I think Evan sent it to us in the Real Hawk Talk Twitter group, and he's like, how many wins? And I was looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, this looks like 1-2 wins after that Buffalo game. And then the Rams game was so irritating. And then there's no scenario I would have picked them to go 2-0 in these last two games. I just wouldn't have. And now you look at the schedule, the Jets they fired everyone. They're kind of trying to get through the year and start over. So they're kind of tanking at this point. The Bears have been a bit of a mess. Caleb did play really well today.
He made some amazing.
He played really well today.
Yeah,
I'll give him that. Since Shane Waldron's left, they've gotten a lot more diverse on offense. The Vikings struggled again, even though they won the game today. They looked kind of rough. The Packers have been good, but not great. The Rams, they should have beat the last time. The Cardinals, they should have won pretty easily today. The schedule looks a little like what Nathan said. It looks a little better than I would have. I thought this was like 2-7 to finish the year, maybe picking like near the top 10. I think when you play defense like this and with the talent they have enough playmakers, even with their offensive issues, where they can score points still. And I think they're going to be right in all those games. And I'm with you. Like, it gets really interesting. And I hope the Eagles can do us a favor tonight. But last I looked, the Rams were winning. And it's fun to watch these guys again. Like, last year, by the end of the year, I hated it. The middle of the year this year, it's like it felt like it was like we were going absolutely nowhere. It's nice to hear people say they're excited to watch the Seahawks again.
That's so well said. And as we get close to wrapping here, I'll just say
I think what you hit on there, Jeff, is they're going to be in every game. Like, I don't think that there's a game left on the schedule where I'm like, oh man, that's a loss for sure. I know everyone's like, oh, Green Bay, that's at home in prime time. I'm not that Green Bay offense. I'm not that, like, against the way this defense is playing. I'm not so convinced that the Seahawks won't be right in that game. The Rams game, like, I'm not looking at that in LA and saying that's a guaranteed loss. Anyway, I feel like
I'm
they have
worried about that Vikings game at this point.
Yeah.
Flores is, like, if Geno doesn't fix something, Flores is going to get him to throw 82 of the stupidest interceptions. It's going to be miserable.
Yeah.
It's fair. It's a cross country trip for them as well. It's not easy for Minnesota to come in here, and they make some mistakes too. Sam Darnold has not been the same.
Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold looking for some dumb interceptions.
Did you see how they ended up going overtime today?
No.
They were up 10 points with 3 minutes left. They gave up a touchdown. They gave up a 2. They let the other team recover an onside kick, and they let them get into field goal range in 2 seconds.
The Vikings did that?
Yeah.
Hmm.
They had that game in the bag. I was watching it, and some former Seahawks had really rough days today. I don't know if you guys follow Larry Izzo, the Washington coach. They allowed a kick return for a touchdown right when they came back. Then they onside kick it, and the guy recovers the onside kick and immediately runs for a touchdown. And then Washington throws a 90-yard touchdown to come within a point, and they miss the extra point. And like poor Dan Quinn, and like that shine is starting to come off a little bit. They lost to the Cooper Rush Cowboys, and so Darrell Taylor had a tough game today. Didn't see much of Tyrell Dodson, but I saw him shouting out the boys.
That was cool. That was classy of him to shout out Ernest Jones. I think it just does come back to you can take pride in being a Seahawks fan when your team is playing that hard and that physical and is making life miserable for opposing offenses. And I'm not so convinced that the last 3 teams they played, division games in those situations, weren't 3 of the toughest games that they had left on their schedule. And their defense played outstanding in each one of those. So, like, do I think that the defense they haven't had this style of defense go up against a team like the Jets? What is it going to look like there? Can they even overwhelm more in that situation? What does it look like when you're going against some of these other opponents that I think are lesser at this point? So we'll see. I'm just happy. I'm happy we get a chance to, for the rest of the year, have something that's worth looking at and worth following. And yeah, we got to figure out the offense, man, because that's the next thing.
How do we not talk about this? We talked about Kobe Bryant, that Marshawn celebration. How has no one done this before? He's the first that's done it, right?
Has there been a big play worth doing that for?
I don't know, man. I think if I played, that would just be my go-to. Like, for all
that got the penalty, right? Him doing that got the penalty. Is that what drew the penalty?
Yeah, I don't remember a penalty.
That's why the extra point was 15 yards farther out.
Oh.
Whatever. I would still do it every time.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yeah, we could just blame Jason Myers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We've got one more super chat before we wrap up. Troy says, cold showers worked. Brian, turn off the hot water heater at VMAC.
You did ask. You did ask the question.
I did ask. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. As of right now, the Rams are up 7-6 over the Eagles with 6 minutes left in the second quarter. I'm sure we all want to go watch that game. Thank you to Nathan Ernst at Nathan11. It's been so good to see you after what feels like a while. Jeff Simmons at Real Jeff Simmons. And folks, I'm Brian Emhauser. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Hawk Blogger. This has been another episode, a victorious episode of the Real Hawk Talk postgame show. Take care, y'all. Hey, folks, this is Brian Emhauser. Thanks for listening to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Want you to know that Real Hawk Talk is available on all major podcast platforms. Go ahead and subscribe. Have all podcasts delivered directly to your phone after each and every show. And then go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. Helps us out, gets more people to the show. Then, if you haven't already done it, go to patreon.com/hawkblogger and subscribe for just $5 a month.
gets you immediate access to our Slack channel. Join hundreds of folks in that community to talk Seahawks about wins, losses, and all things in between. Not to mention, become eligible to win giveaways for Seahawks tickets and get to ask questions of the Real Hawk Talk crew every week on the show. Finally, if you haven't gone to hawkblogger.com recently, head on over. Tail of the Tape morning after articles are there every week. Hoping to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. Go Hawks.